Do you want to buy, overspend, overspend, so that you can work your whole life or a large portion of your life to pay off stuff that really means nothing to you? Or, and I'm sure you can already imagine this, would you rather buy less, materialistically, perhaps make less, but in return feel like you have a life? Thanks for joining me for the 10-minute series where I talk about a topic in depth and simply share my thoughts with you. Thanks so much. This series is called Change How You View Money, or should I really say it's how I changed the way I viewed money. Our 10 minutes starts now. When I was in my early 20s, and I was bankrupt, I was about 23, 24, and I was filing almost equally about around $24,000 in bankrupt debt. I remember wondering to myself, as I imagine most young people would, how on earth did I get to this situation? What happened that made it so that I was so unaware of how to deal with money that I wound up broke and bankrupt? Well, I remember one day I went to the store and I picked up this book. This is not a book review, but I am going to tell you how this book changed the way I view money. And I picked up this book in the finance section called Your Money or Your Life. Now, of course, I'd read books like, The Millionaire Next Door and other financial guru books, okay? And they were all good and wonderful. But Your Money or Your Life is the first book that I can truly say I ever read about money. In other words, as much as I really like the Dave Ramsey show, and Dave Ramsey is the first person who taught me really about the concept of debt freedom. But before we can reach debt freedom, and you've heard me say this on my programs, you have to first change your view about money. But what is going to change your view about money when it's not coming from family, friends, or people with experience? Now, keep in mind, in the time, there was no social media where I could just turn on, YouTube and see that other people were in the same financial situation that I was in. There were shopaholics, spendaholics, okay? Those things didn't exist because social media did not exist. Yeah, I should say they existed, but they were kept behind closed doors. I had no way, go on TikTok now and you can put in, I shop too much for, and then fill in the blank, and I guarantee you there'll be a video on it. So today we have a sense that we are not alone. But back then, I'm 57 now, back then when I was in my early 20s, I had no one or nothing to grasp to. So I went ahead one day, went to the bookstore, and I found this book called Your Money or Your Life. In short, the book is about, do you want to buy, overspend, so that you can work your whole life or a large portion of your life to pay off stuff that really means nothing to you? Or, and I'm sure you can already imagine this, would you rather buy less, materialistically, perhaps make less, but in return feel like you have a life? Now, I realize that before you can achieve debt freedom, you must first change what role does money play in your life. And I remember reading this book and I thought to myself, I had already, I'm in my early 20s. I knew about credit card debt. I knew about McDonald's. I knew all the logos. I knew all the Nike, the Adidas logos. Everybody remember Esprit from the 80s if you're Gen X, okay? I knew all the logos. I knew all the popular, arcade places to go to. Again, we're talking, the 80s and 90s, right? I knew those things. I knew about credit card debt. Oh, heck yes, because that was on every TV commercial. But what I did not know, what I had never been trained to even consider, was my money or my life. When I filed bankrupt, I didn't realize it, but I had just traded my life for what? Things that I can't even tell you today, folks, what the bejesus I went bankrupt on. I had to have been closed because I didn't really live in an apartment. Well, I did live in an apartment. I had a significant at the time, a boyfriend, but I don't really remember what I bought. Only thing I can really tell you is I think I bought some clothes. I might have bought a Zenith TV here or there, okay? But the book basically talks about how it is that we are so busy buying stuff that costs us hours of our life to pay off. We lose sleep over it. We go into debt over it. Look at the TikTok videos. And I don't want to say that education, college isn't worth it. Sure, it can be worth it if you're going into a degree that hopefully won't be overtaken by AI, that you've really thought about, that you're passionate about, that actually earns income and it's not a hobby. When we think about your money or your life, I will tell you it is the first book, if not perhaps the only book I've ever read, because I don't really read that much, but keep that a secret to my students, okay? But if I really get down to it, it was the first book that made me think that perhaps the way I had viewed money all these years was wrong. That perhaps it wasn't MasterCard, Gold Card, that was going to be what raised my self-esteem. Yes, I used to have a Gold Card in my 20s that I went bankrupt on as part of the bankruptcy package. And I literally remember thinking, oh my God, to me, that was life. I was living it. I was living the dream because all the commercials said that, hey, if I own this card, then I'm at the top of the game. I'm at the top of the food chain as far as credit cards. What they don't tell you is you're going to give up your life to pay that debt back. How many students right now are in school, okay, and are going to be facing bills that they can't pay? They're going to give up the next 20, 30 years of their life to pay it off, possibly for a degree they never graduate in. More than half, I believe it is, will get a degree that they never ever even work in. How many people right now are too busy shopping at Whole Foods trying to drive a car that is $1,000 a month, which is probably about $700 more than what they can afford? How many people are doing this to try to impress upon other people just how much stuff they have? How many people right now are living in houses that they absolutely cannot afford? They're losing sleep over it. You see the trade-off to your money or your life. For you to get out of debt, or to at least, let's do the first step before we even get out of debt. That is, we can balance our debt. We know what our debt is. We can afford to pay the bills and at the same time keep digging in our debt. So we're digging ourselves out of debt, all right? And we're paying the bills. Before you can even get to debt freedom, you have to ask yourself, what is more important to you, your money or your life? One of the things that reaching debt freedom, and I have approximately 4 car payments left, all right? Because as you know, if you follow this, I bought a car about 4 months ago because I've made 5 payments on the car, and the goal is to pay off the car in 6 to 8 payments, and it's going to hit 8 payments. So I've made 5 right now, so I've got about 3 payments respectively left, okay? One of the things I did in looking at a car is I had to decide, do I want a car that I can pay off in 8 months, or do I want a car that I can pay off in 2 years? And I could have afforded both, a car that I could pay off in 8 months because I had already saved about $9,000, or a car that I could pay off in 2 years. I settled on a Corolla hybrid because I could pay it off in approximately 8 months. I really, really did want the Toyota Camry, but that was going to take me 2 years. And what do I always think about when I make big financial decisions? I'm talking big ones. I'm not talking about, what type of glasses I wear that I bought, bought a couple comforters this weekend, which I did on sale, of course. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the big stuff, the cars, the houses, your monthly, spa budget. Okay. The things that you do for yourself that, you can't afford. That's the key. It's the things that you can't afford that keep you up, that keep you awake. One of the things I ask myself is, okay, yeah, I could afford a car that I could pay off in 2 months, excuse me, and I would be most likely fine. But, excuse me, I had to cough. But I realized I would have to give up another year and 4 months of my life to do it. Do I want to give up another year and 4 months of my life for a car? See where I'm going at? This book, to me, is a book that everybody should read. Especially those who may feel like they're constantly behind the 8 ball in getting out of debt. Or even for those who may feel like it's not worth getting out of debt. There are a lot of those people right now. We hear about it. Oh, we're spending everything now because the world, doomsday spending, I think is what they're calling it. All right. Doomsday spending. The world's falling apart anyways. So we might as well keep digging ourselves into debt. What you're really doing is you're giving up your life. When you overspend so that you can't save for retirement, because you got too much car, too much house, too much student loan, too much travel, too much leisure debt. You're giving up your life. You're basically saying, you know what, I'm willing to die early now, metaphorically speaking, not literally, okay? I'm willing to die early now and just give up my life because I want to have this stuff. The one thing that I am amazed about at 57 is realizing now when I walk into a store, just how much crap there is in the store I don't want to give up my life for. And you really come to this point to realize that. And when you realize what you're not willing to give up your life for, and you're willing to cut those expenditures out of your budget, I guarantee it to you, that will be your first step towards achieving debt freedom. Because you will have figured out, is it your money or your life? And hopefully you will decide that your life is more important. It's not to say you can't have money, not to say you can't make money. But when you're losing sleep over the money you've spent, and you're losing sleep because you have overspent, you might want to think to yourself, oh, you know what? There's an option. I could have a better life. And yes, you can. I'm Carrie. My 10 minutes is up. So is yours. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. You have a great night. Happy Tuesday.